Welcome to Ingredient Insiders. I'm John Magazzino.
And I'm Andrea Parkins. Thanks for watching this clip from our interview with Chef David Nayfeld. For the full episode, find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Links in the description below. Talk to us about your love of what is known as the Calabrian chili pepper bomba.
Why did you want to talk about it?
And what is the bomba?
Yeah.
So, all right. So Calabrian chilies are an extraordinary ingredient on their own, right? And they're beautiful, and they have this, robust spice level. They also have a fruitiness to them. They have a exquisite flavor profile, right? And I think that it's one of the best chilies out there on its own. But something happens when you put the Calabrian chili through a fermentation process, and then you add that now nuanced umami bomb, salty, spicy, fruity ingredient with roasted garlic and olive oil. And depending on which Calabrian chili bomba you buy, ours at Fico, we have our own brand, the Fico Calabrian chili bomba, also has pickled chilies in it. So you add pickled chilies to this unctuous, fatty, savory, garlicky goodness. Then you get the umami bomb from the fermented chilies and the fruitiness. And something happens through the alchemy of time, and it settles and the flavors fuse. And it just becomes this thing that is it's the accelerator of everything. I put Calabrian chili bomba. It started on our pizzas at the Fico pizza, right? But I put it on the pizza. I put it in our pasta. Now, there's certain pasta dishes you'll see that have the Calabrian chili bomba. I put it on grilled vegetables with lemon and anchovy. I put it on toasted bread. I put it in compound butter and put it on grilled steaks. I put it in a dressing with lemon and olive oil and chopped herbs, and put it over grilled chicken or fish. It is so versatile, and like I said, it is like the accelerator of flavor, and it's such a cheat code, and I'm in love with it.
I love that and what you just said. And a couple of things I would say. One, I'm very happy to say that I grew up with two of my grandparents were from Calabria. And these flavors, Calabrian peppers kind of came into vogue in the US only in the last 10,
decade,
maximum 15 years.
Right.
It was unheard of really in the restaurants. But my grandparents would use these, and I had these flavors from early childhood. And then they kind of disappeared. Mm-hmm. And my grandparents passed away and never really had it. And I don't remember the next time, maybe it was Franny's in Brooklyn or one of the restaurants in New York where I was like, wait, I've had these peppers before. And Tutto Calabria was a company, a very small company that kind of came to the U.S.
Yeah,
with
they
the
started
product.
in the 70s.
But it really didn't show up in the U.S. until sometime in the mid-2000s. And I am, it sounds like, equally addicted to the product like you are. And last night, as a testament to my grandmother, I make this dish, which is like a oven roasted broccoli, and I literally paint the puree of Calabrian chili peppers on it before I put it in the oven. Mm-hmm. Yesterday morning for breakfast, I had scrambled eggs, and I actually take a dollop of Calabrian chili pepper puree and put it in there.
Yeah.
And we've had other chefs tell us similar stories where
there's nothing like a Calabrian chili.
Why is it so good?
It's craveable. I sit there sometimes. I'm like, I need it. You want.
I'm salivating while you guys were talking about
that lemon anchovy that you were just talking about. Immediately, I just started salivating.
So, do you know what other pepper, to me, has the same level of qualities, yet it is sometimes way too spicy for people to find it approachable? Is the habanero.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The habanero has this incredible flavor profile. It's fruity, it's jammy, it's has acidity to it, but it is just so spicy
that
your everyday layperson just can't get on board with it. And I love it in doses, right? Like I love spicy food, but I love it in doses. I didn't realize how much I really loved it until here in the Bay Area, I started seeing these chilies called habanadas. And habanadas are the habanero pepper without the level of capsaicin, like so they're not spicy. And it's like hearing like someone in a recording studio making like a song,
Mm-hmm.
but you have the headphones on and you only hear their vocals. That's what having a habanada is. You only hear the vocals and you don't have that spice that's just slapping you across the face. And so you see this like chili. And so find Calabrian chili to be very similar in that sense, but a more approachable spice level for sure. If you don't like spicy food, the Calabrian chili is still going to be too spicy for you.
Hmm.
But I would say that it brings in probably another 40% of people who do like an amount of spice but they just can't compete with like a habanero.
Does it have any spice? The habanada?
No, zero.
None.
I got to try
I
that.
No,
need to.
no
Yeah.
spice. It is mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's a mind bending experience because you get the flavor and you're like, oh my God, I'm about to feel the pain. I'm so scared. And then no pain. And you're like, what's happening? Because your receptors in your brain have taught you to say, oh, I'm getting the flavor. Now I'm going to get the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that just never comes. It's such an exciting ingredient.
So tell us a little bit about the book. I mean, when I was doing my research on you, you're a self-proclaimed picky eater.
Yeah.
That actually resonates with me because we talk on this show about a lot of ingredients and
She doesn't eat goat cheese.
I don't eat goat cheese.
She doesn't
I don't
like
eat
lamb.
lamb. I don't like blue cheese. So it's really great to talk
What
to
do you
somebody.
like?
Exactly. See, like I like a lot of things, but not those things.
I don't like smoked salmon. I don't
Okay.
like canned tuna fish. Like, I'm so weird about mayonnaise. Like, I don't like
Ugh.
jarred mayonnaise. I will eat Kewpie mayonnaise, Japanese
Okay.
Kewpie mayonnaise, and I will eat mayonnaise that I make or like I know someone that made it, but I won't eat like Hellman's or
Best
Miracle Whip or
foods, or
anything.
yeah.
I just won't touch it. Like,
Interesting.
so I'm very weird.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that,
I eat everything except for
yes.
like green bell peppers.
Yeah, literally it's the only
Unless they're
food you
raw.
don't like.
Only when they're raw, rather.
Yeah. So tell us about this book. I mean, was this inspired by your daughter? Why this kind of child forward book?
Yeah, so Dad, What's for Dinner is about it's really an interesting just for me it's this change of my identity. And that's really what it is. So like, after hearing me wax poetic for the past like 30 minutes, you guys would probably correctly assume that like my identity is I'm a chef, right? That's been my identity. I've been in this industry since I was 13 years old. I blood, sweat, and tears. I gave up holidays and missed friends' bachelor parties and weddings and birthdays and all of those things so I could be in the kitchen. During a time, frankly, when work-life balance was not like something we talked about, and frankly, also it was not even something anybody would have ever bragged about, right? Like work-life balance was the antithesis of the thing that we wanted to champion, right?
Yeah.
During the time that I came up in the industry, something happened, through the process of my daughter being born, and then through the pandemic, there was a period where I kind of became, the primary caregiver while her mom was working, like at a tech company. So like work kept going for her, but there was no daycare available during a time, and
Mm-hmm.
my restaurant had shut. And basically, it was this moment where, from the morning I was with my daughter to the afternoon before I would go into the restaurant and start like making meals to give away to people for free. And I started to develop this deep sense of pride. And also, I think emotionally speaking, restaurants and cooking food for people um, stop being as important for a time. And it is interesting, right? Because there's this arc that happened during the pandemic. And I think I'm finally getting to a place 5 years out of the pandemic where that importance of restaurants and people dining and creating joyful experiences for other people who are strangers has like I've recaptured that passion for that, and like I'm much more excited about the idea of dining out and creating dining experiences. Um, but I'm actually there was something kismet about this entire thing the way it happened because my zeal and my passion for that were at this very vulnerable time, which was perfectly coinciding with my daughter needing my attention and me needing to learn to be a father. And I don't know how these things work in the world and how timing happens, but it just happened perfectly where at the time that I needed to learn to become a father was the time that I had the time to learn to become a father. And that story arc was about my identity changing to really being a dad first. Like my identity is 100% I'm a dad first and a chef and whatever second or third, right? And I over time, right, the story of why the book was important to me would change, right? At that time, right then and there, I started making food in the rest in the kitchen at home. And I just started thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what, I might have something to say to caretakers who struggle in the kitchen with being organized and things like that. And simple, right? Like, and I think that's a good book on its own. After a time, her mom and I split up, and I became a single dad fighting for custody. And I was feeding my daughter on the back of my pickup truck because I could only have her for 2 hours twice a week, and I couldn't have my daughter overnight. And the book then became this thing of me uh, relating to parents who just, you know, were specifically dads, single dads who wanted to be in their kids' life so badly, and the world just kind of made it hard. Eventually, I started having the overnights with my daughter, and she started being able to be here overnight, and I would be cooking, right, because that's my love language, and realizing I'm like, why am I cooking while she's in the other room?
Mm-hmm.
Just doing something else because the truth is like I'm trying to spend my time with her. I'm also not a guy who picks up the phone and orders Domino's. So it just became this thing where it's like, okay, here, get in this little tower next to the table,
Mm-hmm.
right? Here's a cutting board. Here's a carrot. Here's a, little kid's knife. Start cutting. Here's peas. Let me show you how to shuck them. Here's eggs. Let's break them. Here's the pan. I'm making your scrambled eggs. Like you get to choose how much cheese goes in them. You get to break the egg. You get to stir the pan. And it was remarkable because even at 2.5 years old, she's 6 now, but even at 2.5 years old, I would ask her, and I would say, "What part of this can you not touch?" And she'd look at it and she'd say, "I can't touch that." I'm like, "What part can you touch?" "I can touch this thing that I'm stirring with." "What happens if your skin touches that?" "Well, it will be an ouchie." And even at 2.5 years old, her brain was able to pick that up. And I'm telling you, that was my whole journey to fatherhood, right? Through that thing of basically experiencing with her how she was learning about food, how she was learning about ingredients. And the thing that I accidentally stumbled upon, which I think like people have written books about parenting in the French way or whatever in the past, which is like, I never asked my daughter, like, "Oh yeah, hey, like, what do you want for dinner?" Right? Like it was, this is what I'm making for dinner,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and look, once in a while, I will ask everybody what their preference is, and undoubtedly, it's always like spaghetti and meatballs or chicken Milanese or something like a strike down the middle. But there are times where I'm like, "Hey, I'm cooking fish tonight. I'm cooking fish, and we're having spring vegetables, and that's what dinner is." And if you don't want it, you're not hungry enough. And having my daughter participate in that process, shucking the peas, peeling the asparagus, cutting the lemon, and drizzling it over everything, all of a sudden opened up this curiosity for her about what this food tasted like and the fact that it wasn't foreign to her. And I think that really crystallized what the book was all about. It was about creating connection in a place where I think we desperately need to re-engage, which is with our food, with our families, in our kitchens together, right? We're all running around trying to be good at all these things and we're deferring, like you're trying to be good at your career, you're trying to be good at fitness, you're trying to be a good parent, you're trying to be good at work, all these different things. And what do we end up deferring on? We end up deferring on these experiences. And the truth is, the experiences are the now, right? Like, if you end up saying, hey, you know what, like I'm going to defer and my kid and I will get to know each other when they're 20.
Yeah.
That I don't know that that's going to happen, right? And so to me, it's about being present. It's about writing a cookbook that really meant a lot to me. And it's about cooking food, frankly, that I think everybody wants and everybody needs to know. Everybody needs a good meatball recipe. Everybody needs a good, chocolate cake recipe. Everybody needs a good pancake recipe. And that's what this cookbook is about. It's about giving caretakers these tools and these tips on how to make something that's just bulletproof and that everyone's going to love and that is going to engage your family in the process.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ingredient Insiders.
You can find the products we discussed on today's episode at chefswarehouse.com or your favorite specialty retailer.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Ingredient Insiders and Chef's Warehouse at Where Chefs Shop.